Now for Monday's section of the lesson, it says, read John 3 verse 16. John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. Read the key text and explain the significance of the two genealogies included in Luke 3, the human lineage of Jesus' ancestors and his divine origins that position him as equal with God. How is this important to our understanding of who Jesus is? So let's go to the key text first. The key text here says, you are my beloved Son. In you I am well pleased. Luke 3 verse 22. Okay, so let's look at these genealogies. Let's go to Luke chapter 3. Let's go chapter 3. And we're going down all the way here, and we can see yes, he was about 30 years old when he began his ministry. He was the son, so it was thought, of Joseph, son of Heli, son of Matthat, and it continues. We have another son of Joseph here, and it continues all the way down until it gets to son of Enosh, son of Seth, son of Adam, son of God. Okay, so this traces it all the way back to God. So if this is so, this is showing you the divine nature of Jesus being the Son of God, all the way back to Joseph. Okay, Joseph. All right. There is concern though with the genealogy of Jesus as presented in Matthew. Okay, this one goes back to where? Back to Abraham. And it takes a little time and it goes down, talking about before the exile, after the exile, and it goes down until we get to Joseph, husband of Mary. Mary was the mother of Jesus, who is called the Messiah. So there's an emphasis here that we didn't see before, with Mary here being the mother of Jesus. Okay, so just taking a little look on some of the information online, some Bible scholars suggest that one is looking at the lineage of Jesus through Joseph. One is looking at the lineage of Jesus through Mary. However, they also know that the number of people in one is different from the number of people in the other. This is of concern, or has been of concern, to many Bible scholars. So we'll just play one little video here to help us to begin to understand what is at play here and possible explanations. Okay?
Supposed Bible contradiction: Matthew's genealogy versus Luke's genealogy. In the different Gospels of Matthew and Luke, we are given the genealogies of Joseph, the adoptive father of Christ. However, they differ on who the father in line of Joseph was. Matthew says Jacob was the father of Joseph and has a line going back to Abraham, but Luke says Heli is the father of Joseph and has a line going back to Adam. These are not different names of the same people, they are completely different genealogies. So do we have a contradiction? Not so fast. There are two ways of handling this. The first and most common argument is the genealogy of Luke was Mary's line. Heli was the father of Mary, who became the father-in-law of Joseph, thus making Joseph his son as well. This would be consistent with the idea that some scholars have suggested, that Luke used a relative of Mary's side of the family as a source for his birth narrative, so he would have taken that genealogy instead. And since there is no Greek word for son-in-law, Joseph is simply called the son of Heli. That is perfectly acceptable by most scholars, as there is no indication Mary had any brothers, but only a sister. Thus, if there were no sons of Heli, Joseph would become the legal heir to Heli's inheritance, thus his heir by law. This would also make sense with the fact that Mary wedded within the family of David, to ensure Heli's inheritance remained among those of the same household, which is in accordance with the laws of Numbers 36:1-12. However, there is another possible explanation that was given to us by the early church historian Eusebius. He argues from an epistle by Africanus that both lines were of Joseph, one legal and one biological. In Book 1 of Ecclesiastical History, he writes, Heli and Jacob were thus uterine brothers. Heli having died childless, Jacob raised up seed to him, begetting Joseph, his own son by nature, but by law the son of Heli. Thus Joseph was the son of both, thus far Africanus. So what is he saying? Well, according to the law of Deuteronomy 25, 5-6, if two brothers dwell together, and one dies childless, his brother is to take his widow as his wife, and the first son born to them shall be his brother's legal heir, so that his name shall not be blotted out of Israel. So basically, if a man dies childless, his widow is to marry his living brother, and the first son born to them will carry on the name of the deceased husband, even though the living brother is the biological father. Thus, the child legally is to be the son of the dead brother. If this is what happened, it means Matthew is correct when he says Jacob begot Joseph, while Luke is correct when he records he was the son of Heli, and Eusebius refers to Africanus, who points out that in the Greek it says Jacob fathered or begot Joseph, whereas Luke says who Joseph was the son of. But isn't the father of Jacob Mathan and the father of Heli Mathat? Well, yes, but remember Eusebius records that Jacob and Heli were half-brothers of the same mother. So to give a visual, this means Mathan married a woman and had Jacob, but later died. So since he already had a son to carry on his name, his widow was free to remarry whoever, and thus she married Mathat, with a different genealogy of that of her first son Jacob, and then she bore Heli. Therefore Jacob and Heli were half-brothers by the same mother. When they grew up, Heli married a woman, but died childless, and then Jacob became her husband, fulfilling the law of Deuteronomy 25:5, and the first son born to them was Joseph, who became the legal son of Heli, but by nature the son of Jacob. Thus Jacob fathered Joseph, but legally was the son of Heli, and neither genealogy makes an error in what it records. Jacob begot Joseph, but Joseph was the son of Heli. So there are two completely cogent ways to resolve this supposed contradiction, and since both are entirely possible, this Bible contradiction can be addressed and resolved.
So, what does this mean for us? How is this important to our understanding of who Jesus is? So, clearly we know that Jesus has no quote unquote biological earthly father, right? If we read the story to begin with, we understand that. He has, though, a biological earthly mother, right? However, if we're looking at the biological lineage, we see that Joseph, the adopted father, is from the house of David, and his mother is also from the house of David. Let's go further. And I think this is the bigger point, that regardless, God chose fathers, people who had certain characteristics, and he placed them. Let's go back to the graphic here. So this would be the tree here, the family tree, and he places people here all along this that have certain spiritual characteristics that led to that example being needed for Jesus when he was here on earth. So his mother had a certain character. His father, earthly father, would have a certain character to pass on good traits to him. There are many other videos that we can look at. Some people cite this as a contradiction, right? But scholars have given reasonable explanations for the interpretation of the differences between the genealogies.